morning, everyone, and welcome to episode 2 of Scintica's Morning Coffee Chat. My name is Jade, and I'm a product manager here at Scintica for the X-ray and optical imaging portfolios. And I'm joined today by my colleague, Nicholas.
Hi, my name is Nicholas. I'm the service engineering manager here at Scintica. My team manages all installations, preventive maintenances, servicing, everything for everything that Scintica sells. Service with a smile.
So the purpose of today's conversation is we're going to run through a list of frequently asked questions that we get from customers, either at the beginning, whenever we're just kind of introducing them to the product, later on, whenever we start to kind of organize what the installation process is going to look like. And then actually, whenever, we have an engineer, they're on site, they're doing the installation, and then these are going to be questions that come up during the training. So we're going to begin at a point where it seems kind of natural, where we're just learning about what's going to be required from an infrastructure standpoint. So, for instance, we're talking about the DXA, so dual energy X-ray absorptiometry. Inherently, there's going to be X-ray involved. So, one of the first questions that's going to come up from any kind of potential customer is, do I need to have special room requirements? Is the system lead shielded? How do I ensure that I'm safe? My lab members are safe. The animals remain safe. And then, of course, size and dimensions of the system. Can I put it up onto the bench top? Or does it need to stay placed on the ground? So feel free to jump in at any one of those different questions and give us a bit of a rundown of what to expect.
All right, so the iNSiGHT DXA, it's all self-shielded, lead glass on the front. You can observe your animal while it's being scanned. You're safe, the room's safe from the radiation. It runs on wheels. You can uncrate it, roll it into your lab. It should stay on the floor. It's very heavy.
Okay, my next question though is from an installation standpoint, like would the lab members have to recruit other graduate students? Does the PI have to worry about being there to assist? Or do we, Scintica, the engineering team, do you guys handle everything from the uncrating process and getting it set up? Or do they have to worry about finding more people to help out?
Yeah, so uncrating is really easy. The system comes in 2 crates. One crate with the iNSiGHT DXA, some peripherals, accessories for the scanner. The second crate comes with the computer, peripherals, accessories for the computer. Scintica will come, we'll uncrate it. The crate has a ramp. The DXA very seamlessly rolls down the ramp onto the floor, right into your lab.
Okay, a couple of questions, I guess, that sort of come up. First one is kind of a really quick one. Factory warranty. How long is it for the system?
When the system is installed, it has a 1-year factory warranty.
Okay, so then during that time, if anything kind of comes up related to needing an on-site servicing, parts that might be required to replace something that might have gone wrong, what's the coverage look like?
Within the first year of the factory warranty, we've got coverage for parts, we've got coverage for travel, engineering time. All of those things are covered under the factory warranty.
Perfect.
Starting from the first year of SLA, service level agreement, depending on the nature of the agreement, you will always have one preventive maintenance visit. Other types of SLAs might include more parts coverage than others, depending on what you decide to purchase with Scintica.
Generally speaking, though, before we really exhaust coming on site and doing work and ordering, maybe unnecessary parts, what would be kind of the first line of defense from the service team perspective if an inquiry comes in from a customer and something is wrong? So the daily test fails, they're noticing some weird error that might pop up. What would you guys immediately recommend? What would you do next?
So if the customer's having issues with their DXA, reach out to Scintica. support@scintica.com is a general email. Everyone on the support team gets access to it. You could also email myself directly, any other member of the service team.
Or me. You can also just email me.
I'll
I'll respond.
And we will work to identify the root cause of the issue, diagnose it, and remedy it. Really, with the iNSiGHT DXA, as opposed to some other systems out there, 90% of the issues are software related and can be resolved over the phone, over video call, or if the system is connected to the internet via remote access, TeamViewer, Teams, desktop control, any one of those things.
So we were just talking about certain instances where we might need customer support. So generally speaking, the iNSiGHT DXA is an incredibly robust system. So in terms of hardware components that might need replacing or just fixing, even very seldom is that going to come up. And when we're talking about major components on the system, the most expensive ones to fix or to replace, we would be talking about the generator, so the X-ray source, kind of at the top of the system, and then the detector, which is down below. In terms of the number of times that we've had to even replace the detector, that's never come up across the near 40, 45 systems that we have installed across North America, and then a couple that we have in the other parts of the world. And in that case, too, it might be an instance where a customer or user has placed their hand on it and put a little bit too much pressure or something falls. So, from a general proper operation standpoint, again, the system is incredibly robust. One of the smaller things that might come up, that, as you mentioned, could be software related, would become detectable using the daily test phantom. So every system that is installed comes with various phantoms that the user will use for sort of a quality assurance test every single day that they're going to be performing their experiments. So what the user would do is they would place this small little phantom that has been essentially calibrated with the system to read out specific um, bone mineral density measurements and fat percentages. And so with that, if it's ever out of spec, that tells the user that there might be an error. So to stop and to assess a couple of different quick troubleshooting tips that you're going to describe for us. So I have a daily test failure. What am I to check?
The daily test measures bone mineral density for the aluminum that's encasing the phantom and fat percentage for the acrylic. If it fails via BMD just outside of spec, more than 0.003 is the normal passing failure. Likely it's due to insufficient warm up time. The iNSiGHT DXA needs to warm up for at least 30 minutes before the first daily test. If it's less than 30 minutes, wait around, go grab a coffee, come back, try again with the daily test. You may also want to have a thermometer in the room and check if there have been large fluctuations. Those can also cause the daily test to fail. By large fluctuations, more than plus minus 3 degrees Celsius. So for turning the iNSiGHT DXA on and off at the end of the day, leaving it on overnight, we have a general recommendation to leave it on if you're going to be continuing to use it. Leaving it on overnight does not damage any of the components. Turning it off at the end of the day does also not damage any of the components, and turning it on the next day. The biggest recommendation is to perform the daily test at least once a week. You'll want to perform it before your experiments. There's no harm in running the daily test multiple times a day, but there can be a harm if not running the daily test for an extended period of time.
So another really common thing that's going to come up potentially is, in labs where there's multiple graduate students, things can get lost. So if it's really critical that we have the daily test phantom present and passing every day that we're trying to do experiments, it's critical that we don't lose it. So in the case where it does get misplaced, is Scintica able to provide replacements, and then kind of what does that process look like?
Yeah, absolutely. If you happen to lose your daily phantom, we can get you a new one. Reach out to support@Scintica.com, sales@Scintica.com, and we will get you in touch with the appropriate person to get you that phantom. Those phantoms are calibrated to the specific systems. They have written on them the serial number, the same one that's on the iNSiGHT DXA. You'll have to give us a serial number so that we can provide the customer with an appropriate phantom that's calibrated to the system.
So, for instance, if I were to put in a phantom that didn't match that system, the daily test will fail. What would be other reasons maybe then we would see that the daily test does not pass?
Right. So on top of insufficient warm-up time, other common parts of the daily test can be foreign objects on the main measuring plate, meaning anything other than the daily phantom. If you have a nose cone that's in the field of view, that could cause it to fail. There is a feature in the DXA software where you can mask out a nose cone, but if the nose cone happens to move between masking and the daily tests, then it can fail. Other things like animal waste, debris, bedding that's on the main measuring plate while the daily test is occurring can cause it to fail. as well as those types of things below the main measuring plate, right above the detector. Mm-hmm. Also, anything that's on top of the scanner itself can cause it to fail. So we want to avoid placing anything on top.
Like electronics type
electronics, laptops, metallic cages, cell phones, key cards.
And that's because it's interfering then with the X-ray source or the generator?
Exactly, yeah. As the generator lives on the upper part of the scanner, anything metallic, anything electronic can interfere with the generator. So as a general rule of thumb, don't put anything on top of the scanner.
Okay, let's change gears just a little bit here and talking about software. Workstation, you described earlier what's going to be delivered whenever you have the system showing up to your lab. So you said there were two crates. We've got the DXA in one, and then we've got the computer and peripherals in the other. Mm-hmm. Okay, so that means in my mind that I'm getting the software and everything included.
Yes.
So is the computer attached to the DXA? It's already uploaded the right software that I need. What are my options for additional software licenses for doing offline analyses, etc.?
Right. We've got the DXA in the one crate, the computer in the other. It is a Windows 11 PC workstation that is configured with all of the software required to run the iNSiGHT DXA. They are connected via Ethernet and USB to one another for the data pipeline and device control. The software is not licensed, meaning you can download and install the software on any device, unlimited number of devices for viewing, exporting data. If you want to perform analysis with the data that you've acquired with your DXA scanner, you'll have to purchase a offline analysis key. This offline analysis key unlocks the analysis feature, and the scanner acts as the hardware key for the workstation PC that's connected to the scanner.
So with the iNSiGHT DXA, you're able to get an unlimited number of regions of interest to look, whole animal or region specific to measure body composition, information about bone. But you're going to have to segment them out on a single snapshot whenever you're doing multiple animals at once. Otherwise, the way that the detector feeds you back your information or your data, it's going to make it seem as though, let's say, all three animals are one animal, so the total mass is actually just the sum of the three. So you'd have to separate them out. So in short, yes, you can do multiple, but I think from a good best practices standpoint, it's better to just do one.
Makes sense. So if you're scanning all these animals at once or scanning all of them in sequence, the main measuring plate might get dirty. What do I do? What kind of detergents or disinfectants can I use to clean the main measuring plate?
So I think most intuitively, people would know that the best practice is to take the main plate out and before you start to spray any kind of solutions or detergents onto it, as opposed to taking 70% ethanol and spraying it inside the scanner. And so again, it's best pull it out. You can use 70% ethanol to wipe it down. You can just use light, mildly soapy water to wipe it down. If you have specific reagents or disinfectants that your lab uses, it can be most helpful to just reach out to either the support team or to myself and just let us know what it is that you're using. We've got labs who are using bleach diluted to a certain working concentration. That's completely fine. For the most part, again, you're going to be using any kind of liquid solvent to just use on the main measuring plate. But as you described earlier, how there might be any kind of matter from the animals or bedding that kind of falls below, right, just to use like a light sort of duster to sweep up whatever debris might be there on the detector. And again, because it's a very robust system, we're made of lead, we're made of metal and other pieces. It's very sturdy and very easy to clean even from the exterior. So again, if you have any questions around what different disinfectants might be best to use, feel free to quickly confirm with us. And again, I think from a service standpoint, one of the great things that Scintica can offer is a really quick turnaround and response time. So again, whether it's you're getting the email, it's coming in through the support email channel, you guys are really good to respond quickly to acknowledge and do the frontline addressing of the concern before taking it back, having internal discussions on the best course of action. Before either having a remote session to support, coming on site to repair something, you are going to get really quick feedback from the customer support team where we're hearing your problem and we're taking the necessary actions to initiate solving your problem.
Now that we're looking at kind of a overview of the iNSiGHT DXA, for new customers, what are the biggest rules that they want to be looking
Okay, so I think rules of thumb, we have 30-minute warm-up time. Don't lose the phantom. Not to place any kind of electronics above the system so as to not interfere with the X-ray generator. I think, this one we haven't mentioned yet. This one is backing up your data and the system. So it's really important, of course, to have data security. So if there was any kind of malfunction, you're making sure that you've got your data backed up there. I think from like a general operations kind of perspective, it's a very user-friendly system. There's really not going to be a ton of hiccups that you're going to encounter. Again, whenever it comes down to the installation and training, we do a very comprehensive job at making sure that all of the users who are either going to be, routine users, or the ones that are using them like just every so often feel very comfortable in front of the system, both with kind of the hardware as well as with the software. So we make sure to spend a good amount of time there on site to do all of that.
Right.
And so, yeah, rules of thumb, it's going to be really easy, I think, to use the system, acquire data, and analyze it. Thanks again for joining us on episode 2 of Scintica's Morning Coffee Chat. Feel free to reach out to us anytime by email or check out our FAQ page on our website. But otherwise, thank you to my colleague Nicholas, and we'll see you in the next one.